Hey, what's going on? This is Randy Slavin again. Welcome to another part in the New York City Drone Film Festival 3 Masterclass series. I'm really pleased to introduce cinematographer, DP, and director from the United Kingdom, Mr. Philip Bloom. He's a documentary cinematographer. He's been working in TV for years and years. He's a tireless reviewer of camera gear and somebody in the community that just is continuing to push the boundaries and move this industry forward. Quick story about Philip. The first year of the film festival, I reached out to him and said, hey, would you want to be a judge? And he said, no, sorry, I want to submit. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cheeky of him to want to submit. I mean, who knows whether you're going to win. Fast forward, he actually won. So, you know, just says a lot about, I guess, his demeanor and then his work itself. So Philip is about to take you through many amazing aspects of getting into drone cinematography and also professional use cases. He has a really unique perspective and he is a consummate professional at doing what he does even before he got into drones. So check this out. This is Philip Bloom on landscape cinematography.
It's all about defining your shot, not to aimless flying. It's cool and fun to do that, and it's great to just get those high shots. And that's where you can have a helicopter replacement in a way, because you are getting those high shots. But this is not what drones are about. Drones are much cooler when they're low. Generally, when I'm flying a drone, it is rarely more than 100 meters away. If anybody not know what metric is here? So this is me actually flying in Thailand, and this is me flying on the Wonderlist CNN series. But it all started with a Phantom 2 Vision. Anybody have one of those? Not the Plus, the Vision. How crap was that? It was a cool craft. It was fun, and it gave you that lovely detail on your phone, the sort of technical stuff that you wanted. No gimbal, and the image was really poor, as you can see here. This is the Everglades in Florida. Isn't that amazing? Look at the quality. Rectilinear lens, no bowing at all at the horizon. Nice and stable. There was a wind of about 2 miles an hour. You wouldn't know looking at that. This is 3 years ago. This is 3 years ago. Look at where we are now. I'm not going to play this thing because you're going to get really sick in a minute. So, as I said, like a man, I never really read up on this. This was the first time I flew it. And so I didn't realize you're supposed to wait to get GPS lock before you take off. So it was flying, and then it was getting low on battery, so it went to return to home, and I knew that was a cool feature because it would come back to where I took off. But it didn't, because it got GPS lock just a little bit over the water, and so it decided to come down. I didn't realize you could override return to home either, because that's in the instructions. So it went down into the alligator. Is it alligators or crocs there? It's alligators, isn't it? Gator infested, and there's also pythons in there. So I had this guy who looked like Che Guevara, who was doing the airboat, and he went, "Let's go get it, man." I went, okay, cool. So we went off, and he jumped in. And I went, well, I guess it's safe then, because he jumped in. Because it showed you on the map roughly where it... No, it didn't show on the map, didn't have that. I knew roughly where it was when I was standing in one position. But as soon as you go away from that, you're like, where was it? Behind which tree? And he jumped in, so I said, it's cool, then safe here, right? And he went, oh, no. No, there's gators everywhere, and pythons. And I thought he was being English and joking. He wasn't. And there was also sawgrass everywhere. And I was wearing shorts. He wasn't, because he's smart. And so my legs were getting sliced up. We got it back, which was great. But and I got the footage out, which was not worth risking my life for. But that was my first drone. So my second drone was a Phantom. I hated the image. Image quality is important, obviously, very important for me. And I got a Phantom 2 with the GoPro. And obviously, those combination doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But it was a much better image. It had a 2-axis stabilized gimbal, so a 2-axis brushless gimbal. And I took it to Northern Ireland. And I got some great shots of the Giant's Causeway in beautiful sunset, and then it went into the Atlantic, so I lost that. I'm assuming the shots are beautiful. I never got it. And an idiot that I am again, I jumped into the water with huge waves, freezing cold, fully clothed, to try and get... I could see it flashing. The lights were flashing out there, and I could see it. I thought, at least I can get the card back and have these awesome shots. But Then I realised I was probably going to drown, so I decided to come back. So that was my one major loss that upset me very much. But so what I did then, I realised water and me, after these two incidents, are clearly not meant to be with drones. Never learn to fly a drone around water. I think we've all seen many examples of that, or people even with experience flying the water. And so where did I go to learn how to fly a drone properly? Where is the least amount of water in America? A desert. So I went to the Nevada desert, and I flew slowly and controlled around a cactus and other boring things to get control. Terrible shots, but for me it was the way that I could actually, here it is, learn about control. And when you see some of these shots, it's not great quality. This was actually the Phantom 2 Vision Plus, which had a gimbal on it. And it's much better. Controlled shots. And this is what I'm talking about throughout this, is low shots. Landscapes can be low and high. And I think what I found from doing this is thinking about my shots, which is I never did before. I was really just going that way, going that way, going that way, and going that way. Never thinking like there should be sound, yeah. Every time I do a normal camera shot, if we're using a tripod, when you're using your tripod, do you go and just keep going? And then go, oh, I'm going to tilt up now. I'm going to point down. No, you don't. You go, stop. And that is what's essential when doing these sort of shots. It's not the most exciting thing I've done. In fact, it's incredibly boring. But I learned so much when I went to the desert. This is actually the Arizona desert. I don't know what's the... Oop, that almost fell over. That would have been embarrassing. That did fall over. That is embarrassing. So I'm not going to play the whole of this because I just want to make sure that I have enough time for everything. So the next thing I did, which is, as you do, who here takes vacations? Who is a freelancer and doesn't take vacations because they don't want to miss out on work? Bad, man. You know you have to, right? You've got to do it. So I went on, we call them holidays, which is a much jollier word than vacation. I went on holiday to Thailand, and I don't like sitting by the pool. I find it really boring. I like to go around and photograph and film. I had a GH4 at the time, and I was going to go around and just shoot with the GH4 and get a few shots. There's a tiny, tiny island off near the coast, near Phuket. That's how you pronounce it. Some people pronounce it in a ruder way, but it's not that. And it was a beautiful island, barely developed, lots of locals, it was amazing. But I started doing a few drone shots and I thought, this is so beautiful, I think I could actually make an interesting video out of this. So this is actually what won the travel landscape category 2 years ago during the first one. And what I try to do in all of my films is have some sort of emotional connection for viewers. It's very hard to have an emotional connection with viewers if you're just shooting landscapes. Because as beautiful as they are, you really do need to have something more. As you can see, I was getting a bit braver with my shots here. And flying over water. This is actually, I'm not actually flying here, it's on and I'm just holding it whilst riding a quad bike, which is probably not safe either. So don't forget, I have no screen, I cannot see the shot, I am purely flying line of sight, directly with it, so I can see what I'm doing. At this point I was thinking under or over, and I only decided right at that last moment, I'm going to go over. And this was nice because I didn't crash it once, I didn't nick it once or anything like that. It was all wonderful. And what, for me, was all about these defined shots. Slow shots, low shots. And of course, when I met these kids, the drone is not on here. It added an emotional connection to you, the people from the island. What was so nice was that when I put it up online, I got a guy messaged me who's saying, "Oh, I live on this island. I know these people," and he took it to them to show it to them, which was so nice to have that. So this is what it's all about: defined movement. So when you are filming, you need to think about what your shots are. Like I said, with a tripod, any piece of gear, it's about defined movement. This is filming in Iceland for CINEMA's Wonderlist here. So this is me piloting it. And that's Holly, my assistant there, who's acting as spotter. I've never flown. I've never flown two pilots, pilot and camera operator. I've never done that. It's all me. But obviously need a spotter to make sure. So just going to give an example of some defined movement. A lot of it is motivated movement. So when you're filming anything with movement, your camera should ideally be moving with a subject, which motivates the shot. So if you're doing a boring shot of a courthouse, and you just want to do a pan onto it, that's boring. It's still a boring shot. But if you do it, say, with a car or something going past, that drives the shot. That's a very dull way of giving an example, but you'll see it here. So Like this first shot that you're going to see is, I would call a pseudo crane shot. It's a very small defined movement. But what I've also added here is natural sound. So when I say natural sound, it wasn't recorded then because there's the bzzz, which makes it kind of hard to get natural sound. So the two things you can do, you can record it afterwards, or you can find it online, some sounds which work for you. Or you can make it up yourself. You could, for a waterfall, just run a bath really fast and hope for the best. But other stuff like that. So let's just play that. That was simply me looking online for snow footsteps, and then I just edited those footsteps to match his feet movement. So don't forget, if you've got any questions at all, just feel free to ask. That was filmed with Inspire 1 and a Phantom 3. What you find when you're single operator is that it's quite hard to get those perfect rotational movements, and you'll get it to be slightly robotic. And all I do is I just run it through Warp Stabilize in After Effects or Premiere, and it just evens out those little mechanical looking moments really well. Warp Stabilize is a really good tool. It doesn't turn handheld into a gimbal, but for little moments like that, and it's stabilizing, simply stabilizing a tiny motion. What Warp Stabilize can't do is when it's trying to stabilize a 5-axis, it just goes crazy. But something like that, it makes a huge difference. People go, well, how did you get it so smooth? And I lie. I'm just being honest with you now. I say, practice. And then I would be honest and say, use Warp Stabilize. So, sequences, using drones with other things. Just drones is quite boring. I still make the odd thing, which is just drones, but not commercially. It's really a tool to be used. So what I'm going to do is play, let's go back one. So you've seen this next shot in that little montage. That was a montage I just showed you with natural sound, just to, I came back from Iceland and was like, wow, this is the greatest place I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of places. It was stunningly beautiful. So as soon as I got back, I just edited together all my cool shots, which I thought, that was only a small section. The whole edit of that runs about 8 minutes. Incredibly boring, but not for me. So what you'll see here is a sequence. So everything was driven by telling the story. And so that shot that you saw, as you can see, I'm much braver with water. I still get a little bit nervous, but I am much braver. And you'll see how it works into the program. One of these moves over the water into this bit here.
It's no wonder that Iceland has inspired everything from Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones. The place just looks more dramatic than most. So maybe it's understandable that in this land of the sagas, strange rocks and wondrous light give rise to odd belief. As legend has it, two giant trolls were stealing a big fishing ship here one night, and they were so distracted by hauling in their booty, they didn't notice that dawn was breaking. The light hit them, they were turned to stone. But what's interesting is that for many Icelanders, these stories are not stories. Even though this country is highly educated, something like half of Icelanders actually believe in trolls and fairies and hidden people who live in the rocks.
So when you're filming documentaries, you are very much making up a lot of it, the shots as you go along, because you don't get a chance to check out locations and figure out things. And so we did him walking along the beach, telling the story of the trolls and how the people believe it. And then after that, when I was getting some aerials, I knew, and I said to him, what we need to do is get an establishing of the beach, and which we can cut in to your walking shot. So when I'm working on the show, I'm working as the director of photography and co-director. So it's, you're working as a team. There's only like 4 people going out and doing this series, and so you have to work really closely and work as a team. Whilst I have a defined role as director of photography, the director part of it is you need to have somebody who really is in charge, but it's all helping out each other and coming up with ideas. And I think that, that's a really good example of how you can use, how you mix it up and not just do drone, 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 drone. Here's another example. So this is in Ikaria in Greece, which is, the episode is about, it's the largest concentration of people over 100 in the world, and we're looking at what makes this island so special. And this is the presenters on the right, and that guy, the main interviewee, is on the left. And we're doing a walk and talk on the Movi, walking backwards as you do, getting all that. And I threw in the shot as well.
Yeah, well, as soon as
So you can just imagine it starts off with me walking back with them and then cuts to the reverse, thinking it's just a reverse on the stabilizer again, and it goes up to show you where they are. One big tip I want to just tell you about, let me just go back to this, is if you are filming a person, a presenter, have clothes which will make them stand out. So this is the black sand beach. A lot of people would wear black coats. Most people wear black coats. He's smart because he's a TV presenter. He has, not only has he got blue, underneath he has his red, so he can wear his red and switch it around, and he has other things. So it's all about, you need them to stand out. And when you look at the clip,
It's no wonder
he does stand
Iceland
out.
has
So
inspired.
do think about that when you are filming people. Make sure that they don't just blend in. So otherwise you just lose them. So this was A7S and Movi M5. The show wasn't shot 4K, although I shot a lot of the stuff 4K. All the drones are 4K. Any camera I had that could do 4K, I shot it in 4K, even though they said don't shoot 4K, because I couldn't not shoot 4K, because these places were too beautiful. They can convert it HD in post-production. They'll be grateful when they sell the footage as stock. It's fine. Get past this. Sorry. Whoops. The presenter's dialogue is anytime he's doing voiceover, no, but when he's walking down the beach, no, that's real. Oh yeah, that's real. So wireless mic into, the producer was using a Zoom H5 or something and recording that way. Because I could do it myself, but I'm concentrating so much on the shot that I don't want to be worrying about the audio as well. So what this is, hang on, let me just get back here. So this is my favorite shot I've ever done, not just on a drone, ever done, coming up. And it opens the Iceland episode. And as as I say, I make everything up as I go along. And we flew a helicopter to a glacier in Iceland, which was incredible. I got loads of shots out of the helicopter as well. But then we got to this glacier, which was incredible. It's a glacier above a volcano. And it's where they shot all that ice planet stuff on Interstellar. And not this shot, because this is not it. I'm going to get to it, obviously. And I was getting loads of nice shots, and you saw a couple of the shots in that montage earlier. But I went up high, because I wanted to do a nice establishing, and I looked down to try and find Bill where he was, and I saw him there, and I looked up for myself and going, So I tilted the camera up and went, God, those mountains look cool. So I had an idea. So I said, Bill, just walk that way and don't stop until I tell you to. And hopefully he'll hear me when I say stop. Otherwise, that's him gone. So I just play it here. And this is the opening of the Iceland episode. And what's so cool is the shot is 47 seconds long. To have that in its entirety is pretty rare in a broadcast documentary. Just one single shot without being cut.
It feels like a different planet, with a whole different logic. A place of frozen warmth and colorful darkness. A place settled by pillaging brutes, now run by peaceful feminists. A harsh place where people live long, happy lives, have little poverty or crime, and a take on relationships that may just blow up everything we know about love and marriage. Welcome to Iceland. A place so strange, so sublime, it can't possibly stay this way. Can it?
So one thing when I was filming this series, I especially in the first season, when a lot of when the producers were less experienced, they were obsessed with me using the drones. They were like, let's get a drone shot of this, let's get a drone shot of this, let's get a drone shot of this. And there'd be ones where it literally would be, I mean, so many times I'd be like, why? Why do you want to use a drone on this? I mean, especially when they're saying, we just want to go back with Bill and our interviewee, just going to go back and follow them backwards. I'm like, well, why don't I just get the movie out and just walk back with them? Then they can talk as well. And he went, you're right, we should do that. It's they have the tool and they get a little bit too overexcited with it. So as much fun as flying drones is, you've got to be realistic about it. So this is what I'm saying. Don't let the drone take over the storytelling. Don't get to a location and go, where can I fly my drone here? What's going to be cool? I suppose I could start there and come down here. Don't do it that way. What you do is you come in to the location and go, what do we need to get here? Okay, we need to get a nice wide establishment. It's probably a bad example because we're indoors in an auditorium. But if you imagine we're out somewhere really cool like the beach, you get there and go, we need to get you walking on the beach. We need to get some slow-mo statics of the water. And then you go, what would be really cool if we could get that a nice establishing, get out and about, look back at the beach from here. So the gear should never, ever drive your filming, ever. It's always about the storytelling comes first. If the gear can help you tell the story, then great. I'm just going to play this next thing, which is another behind the scenes, I think, and this has got my second favourite shot of all time. And again, it's all when you are flying drones and you go up, that's when you see the shots. You can get an idea of the shots from the ground, but it's only when you go up that you really see the potentials of what you can actually get. So, especially you need a drone that has good battery life. So that's why I like the Phantom so much, because they've got the 25 minutes, whatever, which gives you a chance to do a recce, go up, have a look, and see what you can get before you start filming. So that's part of the reason why I like them so much. I love the Inspires as well, but when you start using the bigger things, they last 12, 13 minutes, which is enough time to do your recce, then you bring it down. So I do like to have a little bit longer on battery life.
Okay, I'm speeding.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Clap for us.
One of the best things about filming documentaries is that feeling of surprise, of capturing something unexpected. On the Wonderlist, it was very rarely like that because everything we were filming was pretty incredible. But there were definitely some standout moments for me. I think one of them has to be in Vanuatu. Well, many of them were actually in Vanuatu, to be honest with you. But one of my favourite shots, and probably one of the most iconic shots of the entire series, was on Tanna Island at Mount Yasur. We'd spent the previous night at the top of the volcano, sucking in sulfur, choking, being blinded by it, but capturing these fantastic shots of the volcano erupting. But it was the next day. It was the next day that was just so memorable for me. It was when we were doing a sequence with Bill and Jimmy climbing up Mount Yasur, and it was on the quadcopter. I'd pulled out the Inspire 1, and I wanted to get some nice aerials of them going up the side of the mountain. And I got a couple of really nice shots tracking up with them as they slowly walked up there. And then I span round. I rotated the craft round and then started backing away. Then I knew it. This was the shot. They were backlit, they were silhouetted, had this beautiful line dividing the screen, and I waited for that perfect moment, got the position right, and then moved forward. I must have had a massive smile on my face. As I did that shot and went over them, I knew that was beautiful. That for me still is one of my most favourite shots of the entire series.
And that was with a pre-production Inspire 1. And when we got to the volcano, I was like, this is way too windy. No way we're going to fly in this. And I did try the Phantom, and it was like, not going to happen. And I took up the Inspire 1 the first time I flew it, and it was like, wow. It couldn't tilt. The camera couldn't tilt down. It could only point straight ahead. But it didn't matter. It was such a cool first use of it. So I want to show you, this is something I did in Norway in November using the Mavic Pro, which is a cool little device. You can take it out with you anywhere. And it was a nightmare trying to get it to take off. So on a really small little boat out on the sea, and you've got to keep it stable when you turn it on so it can calibrate the IMU, and it wasn't doing it. And I eventually got it, after holding it for about 10 minutes, it clicked on, and I'm like, good, take off, let's do it. And I shot one battery on this, which lasted about 23 minutes, surrounded by orca whales, killer whales. And it was cool. It was a lovely moment to get this. So as you can see, I really have overcome my fear of water at this point. I'm flying just over the water, and there is no place to land it apart from on the boat, and that's not landing, you've got to catch it. So, but no, that was really fun to do. Just off one battery. And I think why I didn't take off again was basically I was like, I got some great stuff. It's not gone in the water. I'm going to stop right now. It's like when you go to Vegas and you're playing blackjack or something and you've won $500 and you go, I'm on a roll. Then you go, I'm probably not. So I'm going to stop and walk away. So it's kind of a little bit like that. It can. That's when you get a drone. I get asked a lot of questions on emails and stuff. Is the Mavic Pro a great first drone? My response is generally yes, as long as you can afford to replace it when you crash it, because you will. And they're like, well, hasn't it got all these safety modes? I'm like, yes, but you will crash it. We all crash it. You will crash it. You'll lose it, because you will go over there for 3-4 miles, and then you'll realize, oh, my battery's at 15%, and it won't make it back, and you'll never find it again. So it's a great first drone if you can afford to replace it, but get a Phantom 3 standard for $400, and that's a great one to learn with. But it is a very cool one. So slow, low, and controlled. What you're talking about going backwards, this isn't anything special, this next clip. I think it's Phantom 4 Pro, which is, I think, my favorite drone because it has such a great image. And this was just outside London. Nothing particularly special, but you can see a lot of the shots are me flying backwards. They aren't reversed. Very much editing to the music, and notice all these shots are going backwards, and when the music changes, and then my direction will change. I still love going underneath and through stuff, as you can see here. I can't resist it. But the reveal, there, a much better shot than going through it and then seeing that. So the music changes, and I'm now going forwards. Slow, low, and controlled. You can actually tilt the camera up quite well when it's going slow, because when a craft goes forward at speed, it tilts down. Go slow, it's horizontal, you can tilt up a hell of a lot, you'd be surprised. Very controlled composition, getting it lined up with the tree so the sun is there. So really take your time with these shots. Slow, low, controlled. you get the most beautiful shots. And of course, choosing the time of day of filming is wonderful. So I just want to give you one quick more example of another slow and control. This is Lake Geneva in Switzerland. So I left 5 minutes left for questions. You didn't even have to put up your cards. That's good, isn't it? Yes, I'll come to you next. Yes. So music really varies. The music you saw on the Wales and that last piece in the woods was from audionetwork.com, which is amazing. I have got a subscription with them, which is quite expensive, so I can use it for everything but broadcast. Their stuff is full of, they have everything. They have bands, they have, droney type music, not drone music, but drones. They have everything. But the coolest stuff they have is the orchestral stuff. And I went to the recording of some stuff with the composer Luke Richards at Abbey Road Studios, which of course was kind of cool. I'm a Beatles crazy nut to be there. But it was like a 50-piece orchestra. And you can use their track for like $20 on your edit. And you can use that even for ad share on YouTube. Now, if you want to use it for a corporate or anything more, you pay more. But just for personal stuff like that, it's brilliant. And I love music. I have a big music knowledge and stuff. And I know what I like. And I know what movie soundtracks would work. And that sort of stuff sounds very movie soundtrack-like. So, and I also use MusicBed a lot. And in the Iceland episode of Wonderlist, I did my montage. I cut it to Sigur Rós, the Icelandic band, just privately for them to look at. And they loved the music so much, they ended up paying a fortune to license it for the show. But for most people, we can't do that. So, hey. Yeah, pretty much. Because you know what it's like. As soon as you get further away, you can't get the depth perception goes. So you do have to rely on your screen, but you've got to keep looking at it. So it's literally flicking down. Turn it all off. Yeah, if you have your sensors on, there's no way you can fly that low. It'll try to land. Going into landing mode. No, don't go into landing mode. Or it gets, you try and go through things and it just goes, beep, 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 stops, which you don't want either. But, yes? Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to not do my producing, so I tend to leave that to the production to do that. For personal stuff, then obviously I'll look into it. Switzerland that was a personal thing in Switzerland, and the rules are actually really, really relaxed there. But yeah, the rules are different everywhere. And at some point we'll have an international driver's license type thing where we can fly, but it's a way off because so many countries won't let you fly at all. Even if you have a pilot's license, they won't let you do it. So that was the problem with Wonderlist, is that like half the episodes we could fly drones and half we couldn't. So those other half we just hired helicopters, which gave us aerials, but not the same sort of stuff. It is difficult, but you do have to jump through a lot of hoops. They had to do so much paperwork and so much stuff. So, yeah. look it up, Google it, go onto the message boards, ask, like there's some great groups on Facebook, and you ask the question and they will tell you, there's always going to be somebody from that country and they can give you advice about what you can legally do there. No, you don't. The DJI automated exposure is awful because it does it in very, very obvious steps. They're not. I don't think they're 1/3 increments. I think they're like half-stop increments, and it really looks awful. So it's manual control, and you set it, and you just obviously you go and try and hold your highlights. Use the histogram that it's on the screen. Hold your highlights and try not to crush shadows because it's. The Phantom 4 Pro is so good. It's such a big thing for me and everybody else because it has a high bit rate. So it's not as compressed, which means it can withstand grading better. The Inspire 2, of course, is much better with the RAW and the ProRes with 10-bit recording. But yeah, you try and hold, you look at the exposure assists and you try and hold it as much as possible. But as soon as you go into auto exposure, any light changes, it looks awful. Awful. I think that one more question, then I'm gonna go. No more questions. Go on then. So the great thing about the DJI cameras now, they're all rectilinear, so there's no bowing of it, which is great. You do lose the wide end. Their lenses tend to be tighter. So, but in the Thailand one, that was all GoPro 3 maybe, whatever, maybe 4. It was 2.7K, so I think it was 3, and it was all curved. So it all went through After Effects in distortion removal to get rid of it, because I hate it. Although the Earth is round, apparently American footballers don't think it is. I heard last night, I don't know what that's about, but you can fix it and get all those lovely, it's fine when you're going straight, it doesn't look like, as soon as you start tilting your camera down on the GoPros, you get, but you can fix it in post, and the render time is atrocious, but it's worth it. Thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the day.
Thanks for watching. That was pretty awesome, right? It's really amazing the kind of footage that he gets all by himself. He's a really good example, frankly, for those of us who, are constantly trying to perfect our craft and just get better shots, whether you're with somebody else flying big drones or small drones. We have tons of awesome content that's coming out. It's going to be coming out every week. New stuff from landscape cinematography like we just saw, PID tuning for racing drones, getting into flying heavy lifters, color correction, editing, the power of story, just many, many different talks from the 3rd Annual New York City Drone Film Festival that are meant to round out your abilities as an aerial cinematographer and as a filmmaker in general. Subscribe, check us out on Facebook, check out our website, NewYorkCityDroneFilmFestival.com. You can see all the winners from this year as well as the judges. A bunch of activations we're going to be up to, so keep in the loop, stay with us, and in the meantime we're going to be planning on all kinds of awesome things coming up for the next New York City Drone Film Festival and the other events that we have coming up in between. Thank you, fly safe, be well, peace.